The president of Turkey is hosting two American guests today. The vice president and the secretary of state. Mike Pence and Mike Pompeo are trying to persuade Recep Tayyip Erdogan to stop his military action in Syria. The Turkish armed forces are pushing Kurdish fighters out of the border region. The operation is causing serious humanitarian concerns. For more on Turkey's military offensive in Syria, our chase team has reached Rukmini Callimachi. She is a foreign correspondent for the New York Times. She has extensively covered ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and right now she is in Bucharest, Romania. Rukmini, great to have you on the program. I want to get right to it. I'm waiting for a news conference. Pence, Pompeo, somebody to show up to tell me how that meeting went. Nothing yet. What does that tell you?
I think it possibly suggests that this is a complicated issue where there are no easy answers. In the phone call a little over a week ago, President Trump essentially gave President Erdogan of Turkey the green light to invade this area of northern Syria. The tragedy here is that this was an area of Syria, one of the only ones, that was relatively stable. Over the last 5 years, America's ally in the region has succeeded in fighting back ISIS and taking back that territory from the Islamic State. It was an area where Westerners, NGOs like MSF, Mercy Corps were able to actively work. And now, as a result of this incursion, we've seen tens of thousands of refugees flow out of the area. Western reporters have been forced to leave. Almost all of them have left in the last couple of days. And we're resurgence of ISIS as we speak, with prisons being broken out of, ISIS fighters rejoining the battlefield.
What we're hearing is that the message coming from the Oval Office is, try to push some kind of talks and a ceasefire. We know, and I'm looking at the wires right now, Rukmini, that the Russian foreign minister says that Russia is ready to facilitate relevant talks. That's no surprise there. Do you expect any of this to come back with positivity from, the Ukrainian president?
I think that the best we can hope for now is some sort of ceasefire. The genie was essentially let out of the bottle by Trump a little over a week ago, and this terrible conflict has ensued. The best that we can do now is for battle lines to be redrawn, and for Turkey to stop their offensive. It bears noting that Turkey is not sending their own troops onto the battlefield, at least not in any major way. They are carrying out this incursion through a series of Arab militias that are allied with them and that are carrying out horrific abuses against civilians. I was able to get a copy of the autopsy report of a female Kurdish politician. She was in her early 30s, who was pulled out of her car, and according to the autopsy report, the bones in her legs were broken, in her face were broken, her hair was pulled until part of her scalp came out, and she was sprayed with gunfire. This is the kind of human rights abuses and war crimes that we are seeing as a result of this Turkish incursion.
And Rukmini, when you were there, I'm sure there are a lot, if you close your eyes, I'm sure there are some horrific pictures that come to mind. But what were people saying about the withdrawal of U.S. troops and then, the Pompeo-Pence discussions, if they're even talking about that?
I was last in this region in February. I was there for most of the month of February. And that was just a couple of months after Trump's announcement in December of last year that U.S. troops were pulling out. Kurdish forces were beside themselves. They couldn't understand why their ally, America, whose commanders had assured them that they were staying, were going to basically leave them unsupported. For a while, it looked like President Trump was going to walk that back. We didn't see much action in terms of removing forces on the ground until about a week ago. And now, the image that is burned into my mind is what has happened with the U.S. base that was very close to the Turkish frontier. U.S. forces have literally bombed that outpost to make sure that these militias are not able to use it. There's a fall of Saigon feeling to what has happened. A hasty retreat by our forces and the wholesale abandonment of an American ally, namely the Kurdish militia that was fighting on our behalf.
And final question for you, Rukmini, what are you going to be watching for, when these gentlemen do finally come out, hold a news conference, as they have said they would? What do you expect? Do you expect word on sanctions? Do you expect words on, reduction of the ISIS threat? Anything?
I think that what we're looking for right now is a demarcation of this conflict. Where are the battle lines going to be? If this incursion continues to occur, we are expecting that there's going to be a kind of social engineering that occurs in this mostly Kurdish area, as we saw in the province of Afrin, which Turkey invaded some time ago, where they went into an area that was mostly Kurdish and other minorities, and they brought in a mostly Arab population. That's the fear here, and that's why civilians who are Kurdish are fleeing en masse. They're expecting to be punished by the Arab militias that have come in.
I want to thank you for your time, Rukmini. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
Rukmini Callimachi in Bucharest, Romania, foreign correspondent for the New York Times.